And what did we come up with? 2.5 million from Phil Knight?
Yeah, it's 1.5 directly from him, and then another went through the Republican Governors Association, who immediately appeared to give it to Bueller.
Back to Bueller.
Yeah. So 2.5 in a couple of ways.
What's really the benefit of doing that?
There is no benefit whatsoever, except he may get a tax write-off for donating to the RGA.
Okay.
But we don't, not knowing how he gave it.
Sure.
It makes no sense because it's totally open anyway.
Okay.
It's not like he's trying to hide it because it's right there.
Right.
So, but it may be, as we talked about, the RGA has not pegged this as a race that they're really going to focus on. And so this may be a way for him to jog them so that they then come up with their own money and get it to Bueller as we come to the last few weeks.
Are we officially rolling? Okay, sweet. So these questions came from all the producers, kind of combined. So as we were just saying, the campaign contributions, Phil Knight has donated the amount we just talked about. What does it mean that he donated this money with his name on it opposed to funneling it through another organization?
Well, when he funnels it through the Republican Governors Association, he's trying to get national interest in the race. We've been looking at the Bueller-Brown race as a place that the Republicans might see an opportunity to, in effect, have a good night on election night when the Republicans are going to lose governorships in other parts of the country. So, in effect, the Republicans may say that they have a chance to blow a hole in the blue wall on the West Coast. But they haven't been, that national money hasn't been coming. With Knight giving the money to the Republican Governors Association and then they giving it to Bueller, there may be a hope that he's interesting the national donors that Bueller is a race that they really ought to be spending money on and pay attention to because it could be important for Republicans.
This is the most expensive race in Oregon history, in a governor's race.
In the governor's race.
Would more money help Bueller?
It would, because he still has the problem that any challenger does. People still don't really know who he is, and they aren't really sure about what his message is. They know he doesn't like Kate Brown. We've seen that in the ads. But there's not a sense about why I should vote for him, except that I have problems with Kate Brown. More money allows him to buy more ad time to get a more complex message out there. And usually challengers have to get that message. They always say the incumbent isn't doing it right. But the more money you have, the more you can say, here's what I would do. Here's the positive part of what I would do.
And you're saying this race has almost doubled the previous record?
It will. Right now we're at about $24 million. The previous record was about $17 million. Easily in the next 3 weeks, we could see another $10 million, maybe more. $10 million more dollars, and we've doubled the record.
Are there any large donors that you're expecting to donate in the last couple of weeks?
Not that we're expecting to, but it's those big organizations. So we look for the Republican Governors Association, but we also would look for other Republican donors. Remember, there's the Sheldon Adelsteins out there and the Koch brothers and all those things that they might come through. Same with Kate Brown. She's gotten money from Emily's List. It's her biggest single donor. She's gotten money from Michael Bloomberg. Will she get more money from the liberal billionaires who've given to her in the past? Once again, they'll say, does she need my money to win, or should I spend it somewhere else? So if they start giving to her, that's a sign that the race may be tightening up. Same thing if Bueller starts getting the national money, that may be a sign that the race is tightening up and the Republicans think they have a real chance.
Interesting, okay. And then tell us about the recent endorsements we've seen. Both the Oregonian and the Trib have backed Bueller, the Willamette Week backed Kate Brown. What does this mean for a state that traditionally trends blue?
Remember, the state trends blue in the Portland area, in the Eugene area, in parts of Southern Oregon, and in parts of Central Oregon, and sometimes in the Salem area. The rest of it trends pretty red. And so it's fascinating because in years past, the Oregonian endorsement especially was very important. It was the state's and the Northwest newspaper. The Oregonian is now the Portland area newspaper. It's no longer the state's paper.
So is that even more interesting, the fact that they represent the Portland area and they're picking a red candidate?
Yeah, they're in fact going against the people who would be their readers and who they live among and who read their newspaper. So yeah, it is very interesting. But for the past 30 years, we've seen that endorsements are less and less and less important. Part of it is what we see with people saying, oh, I don't like your newspaper because it's not my political point of view. Part of it is because readership has been just dropping, as it has for all the mainstream media outlets. And so the endorsements are less important. So here's what we've seen in the last 20 years. Endorsements are important if the candidate who gets them picks them up and uses them in their ads to hammer home that these newspapers endorsed me, and because of that, I'm a credible candidate. So expect Bueller to pick up on those, start using them. Kate Brown will probably use Willamette Week things in Portland itself. Willamette Week doesn't have a very big footprint outside of Portland, but if she gets other endorsements from other newspapers, she will also start touting them in her ads.
Are there any endorsements that voters would really care about? Like Brown was endorsed by Obama, but do voters really care about that?
You know, it usually doesn't make that much difference unless you're a single issue voter and one of your single issue heroes comes out. Obama's not a single issue person. He's kind of the generic Democrats that the Democrats wish they still had. But if environment is a big issue and an environmentalist comes in and makes an endorsement, or somebody who comes in on the Republican side and says taxes are a big issue, so those can make a difference, but only for that small number of voters. Only for that small number of voters.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
This race is getting very interesting. The polls show that Brown has a consistent lead, but it's a small lead. So 4 to 7% is still what I'm sticking with for a possible victory for her. Bueller, however, has a clear path to victory. He now has the money to make that happen. And he appears to be targeting where the Republican voters are and the moderate voters are, which most Republicans don't do. He's got to go into Multnomah County. Multnomah County has the 3rd largest population of Republicans in the state. And Republicans have been afraid to come to Multnomah County because they think there's too many Democrats there. But Bueller appears to be really trying to get them. And so that's a strategy that he has to have to work. Will it be successful? We'll see. But he now has enough money to really play the game.
So if Bueller wants to win, he needs to target Multnomah County voters.
He does. The rule of thumb is that if a Republican is going to win, they have to get 30 to 35% of Multnomah County votes. So on election night, Multnomah County reports first. And so we'll have a sense right then. If Bueller's at 40%, we'll wait for some other things to come in, but he's probably won the race. If he comes in at 30%, right on the line.
One more thing I want to ask you, and you've been following like governor's races for a long time here in Oregon. A close race doesn't mean really anything. You said most races in Oregon are really close.
Yeah, when you look historically, and I've looked at every single race in Oregon history, when you look at them, when Republicans have won historically, they win by a lot. So the record victory is a 55% margin. And the second place was the same guy who won by about 40%. Democrats, historically, when they win by 3 to 10%. They win in a much smaller margin.
So right now it's looking like Kate Brown.
So right now, Kate Brown is following exactly the historical pattern of how Democrats have won going back to the 1860s.
Wow. Okay. Unless you have anything else you want to say, that was awesome.
There we go.
Yeah, very informational. A lot of
Cool.
good details.
Do I need to cut away from myself?
No, you're going.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Grading papers, so you know, this is a good thing.
Yes.